I will be.
Okay, guys, we're live. Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, everywhere. Welcome.
Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, Myrna. Can you please mute yourself? Thank you.
Shalom Aleichem, Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharei, Malachei Elyon, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malchei Amnachei, HaKadosh Baruch Boakem leShalom, Boakem leShalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malchei Amnachei, HaKadosh Baruch Barakuni leShalom, Barakuni leShalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malchei Amnachei, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Zetchem leShalom, Zetchem leShalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malchei Amnachei, HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
Shabbat Shalom. Welcome after, I don't know whether your week was long, difficult, whether this moment of Friday night comes as a really welcome pause. Here we are, Shabbat Resouled, our first back on the Bima for a while, but without musicians who will be joining next month. So we are slowly coming back to be able to bring our services from the synagogue. So I invite you all to get your candles out, to have your light or matches ready, to bring in Shabbat for yourselves. I'm thinking of the adage, a good Jew, one who is born into or who chooses Judaism, is one in whose life being Jewish in the way they choose is a perpetual force for good. And I think about what that means for all of us, however we choose to express our Judaism. However we choose to gather here together and to be a source of goodness for each other. So let me invite you, those of you at home who have your matches ready, to light candles. I'm peeking over to see who has their matches and candles ready. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel Shabbat. Shabbat Shalom.
Shalom.
We're in the Resouled Siddur. I invite you to go straight to Lachadodi on page 9.
Lachadodi likra kala, b'nei Shabbat, b'nei Shabbat mekabela. Lachadodi likra kala, b'nei Shabbat, b'nei Shabbat mekabela. Shamo v'zako b'dibur echad, Ishmianu el hamyuchad, Adonai echad, u'shmo echad, l'shem u'letiferet v'litilah, nikra Shabbat l'chuben elchad, ki mekor habracha, merosh mikedem nesukah, sof maaseh b'makshava techilah, echad odi
page 12 as we go into the blessings before the Shema. The first that blesses light and darkness, the coming of the seasons, the passing of time. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim, b'chokhmah poter sha'arim, uvidvuna mashane itim, umachalif et hazmanim, umasadeh et hakochavim b'mishmoratehem b'rakia kirtzono, borei yom v'layla, golelo mipnei choshech, v'choshech mipnei or, uma'avir yom u'mevir layla, uma'avdil ben yom u'ven layla, Adonai tzvaot Shema, Baruch atah Adonai, Hama'ariv Aravim.
Together, we're on page 12 as we offer the Shema, that passage that reminds us that we are surrounded and our passageways through life are surrounded by the words we utter here. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kavod Malchuto, Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Shem Kavod Malchuto, Le'olam Va'ed. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kavod Malchuto, Le'olam Va'ed. Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavecha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol meonecha v'hayu ad marim תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים. לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
We're on page 13 as we mark the words of the Shema as being words that we hold to be true and sure that we can rely on. You alone, Eternal One, are our God. And we are Israel, your people. We're just going to mute whoever's chatting now. You have freed us from oppressors and delivered us from tyrants. You led us out of Egypt forever to serve you in freedom. When we witnessed your power, we praised your name and gave thanks. Willingly we accepted your rule, and full of joy we sang together.
כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נהדר בקודש נורא תהילו עושה פלא נורא תהילו Adonai imlok leolam va'ed. Adonai imlok leolam va'ed. Adonai imlok leolam va'ed. Leolam va'ed. Adonai imlok leolam va'ed. Adonai imlok leolam va'ed. Adonai imlok leolam va'ed. Leolam va'ed.
ונאמר כי פדה אדוני את יעקב וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו. ברוך אתה אדוני, גאל ישראל.
השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום ועמידנו מלכנו לחיים השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום ועמידנו מלכנו לחיים ושמור צאתנו ובואנו לחיים ולשלום מעתה ועד עולם השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום ועמידנו מלכנו לחיים
Baruch Ata Adonai, Hapore Sukat Shalom, Aleinu V'al Kol Yoshvei Tevel. We pray for a sukkah of peace, for a sense of ease and peacefulness in our homes and all around us. We go now to the tefillah. I'm really sorry, everyone, those of you who are struggling to hear me. We're doing all we can over here, and hopefully it will continue to improve. So page 15 as we go to the tefillah. Page 15. Baruch Ata Adonai, Eloheinu ve'Elohei Avotenu ve'Imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak ve'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel ve'Elohei Leah, Zocher chasdei avot ve'imahot, umevi gula livnei v'nehem, lema'an shemo bi'ahava, Melech Hosea Moshiach Magen, Baruch Ata Adonai, Magen Avraham, Bezrat Sarah. Ata gibor le'olam Adonai, Mechaye metim ata rav lahoshia, Mashiv haruach u'morit hageshem, Mazriach hashemesh u'morit hatal, V'ne'eman ata lahachayot metim, Baruch Ata Adonai, Mechaye hametim. Kadosh ata v'nora shemecha, ve'ein lanu Eloah mibaladecha. Baruch ata Adonai, ha'el, ha'kadosh.
V'shamru b'nei Yisrael Shabbat Resouled et Shabbat l'dor Adam b'ritolam v'shamru b'nei Yisrael et Shabbat V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et Shabbat Resouled et Shabbat l'dor Adam b'ritolam l'dor Adam b'ritolam.
That's when we know we've hit Resouled proper to mark Shabbat. Baruch ata Adonai, Makadesh HaShabbat. Top of page 18. Eternal God, be gracious to your people Israel. Ratzeh Adonai Eloheinu b'yamcha Yisrael, u'tefilatam b'ahavat kabel, u'tehila ratzon tamid avodat Yisrael amecha. Baruch ata Adonai, she'otecha levadacha b'yera na'avod. So as always, every Friday night, I invite you to share anything you are grateful and appreciative for, so that we as a community can offer the words of Modim Anachnu Lach. We are grateful and thankful to you with full kavanah, intention of our hearts. We thank and praise you for being our God and God of our ancestors. We can always rely on you and feel safe. We thank and praise you for caring for our lives, for connecting our souls with you, for the miracles of life, wonders large and small, that remind us you are here every moment of every day. We praise you, our God, and joyfully thank you for all life's goodness.
השלום. שלום רב על ישראל, עמך תשים לעולם. כי אתה הוא מלך אדון לכל השלום. וטוב בעיניך לברך את עמך ישראל. בכל עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. שלום רב על ישראל, עמך תשים לעולם. כי אתה הוא מלך אדון לכל השלום. וטוב בעיניך לברך את עמך ישראל. בכל עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. שלום רב על ישראל, עמך תשים לעולם. כי אתה הוא מלך אדון. כי אתה הוא מלך אדון. כי אתה הוא מלך אדון לכל השלום. לכל השלום. שלום רב.
So beautiful, Dean. Baruch atah Adonai, oseh hashalom. So I'm seeing lots of gratitude for the sunshine, for parents vaccines, for the vaccine in general, for friendships, for family, and I add my gratitude to all of those and to the community and how we care for each other here. Just a thought for us before we go into a moment of silent prayer for us. It is almost a year since we began this kind of service, since we as a congregation became more than a building, just a tiny drop-off informal expression that stuck with us from May. I think I was reminded May the 23rd was lockdown beginning, and our services online began soon after. I meant March, of course, March the 23rd, hence a year. We went into last year's Seder on Zoom, or however you chose to have it with your family, and we had Zoom here, Dean and I led for our congregation, truly thinking it was a one-off event, never to be repeated. We finished the Seder with the words, next year in person. How could we have known the year that we have had? So I invite all of us to consider, and we'll do so more next weekend as we go into Pesach, to consider the words from Psalm 118 that we'll hear reverberated, echoed throughout Pesach. Min hamedza karatiya va'anani b'merchavya. From a narrow place I called to you, and you answered me in wide expansiveness. Of course, that narrow place referred to the biblical Egypt. The wide expansiveness was the freedom from Egypt. But all of us know that no Seder, no Passover is complete unless each of us imagine how it means for us in our own lives. So I invite you now, with the prospect of redemption a little clearer, a little more reliable, that life will go back to normal, perhaps even better, but that somehow we carry with us the grief and loss that there has been this year. So I invite you in a moment of silent prayer to think, what is the narrowness you have come from? And what is the wide expansiveness you hope to reach?
Rapson, Irifi, Legion Libi, Le Panepa, Adonai Turi, Vergon Ali, Adonai Turi, Vergon Ali, Ulrason, Irefi, Vergon Libi, Le Panecha, Adonai Turi, Vergon Ali, Adonai Turi, Vergon Ali.
Aleinu on page 20.
Aleinu לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, אשר שם חלקנו ויגן את שמו, וגור עלינו להעמיד מלכותו, גור עלינו להעמיד מלכותו. אנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים מודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא, הקדוש ברוך הוא. השמיים עימם, ושכינה עוזו בגובי מרומים, הוא אלוהינו עליון. אמת מלכנו
So we go now to the Kaddish as a congregation, and we stand and gather with those who are mourning and remembering a loved one. We think particularly of the yahrzeits that fall this Shabbat. We think of Maury Barnett, father of Paul Barnett, Mary Joseph, mother of Howard Joseph, Hanny Lichtenstern, grandmother of Jackie Lichtenstern, Johann Oppenheimer, father-in-law of Corinne Oppenheimer. Zichronam livracha, may their memories be for a blessing, and may those who recall and remember their loved ones be comforted in their loss as we say the words of the Kaddish with them. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah, bi'ama divrach yerutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon u'v'yomechon u'v'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael, Magala v'zman kari v'imru amen. Yehei shmei rabbah mavorach le'olam al maya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'a v'tromam v'yitnaseh. V'yithada v'yitale v'talal shmei d'kudusha brichu. Leila min kol berchata v'sherata. Tushbachata v'nechemata. Da'amiram bi'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shamaya. V'hayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael. V'imru amen. Ose shalom bimromav. Hu yaseh shalom. Aleinu v'al kol Yisrael. V'al kol b'nei Adam. V'imru amen. Before we go to close our service with our blessing for each other, for our children, I'm just going to ask two questions to any children that happen to still be in the service. I would like to know the name of Aaron's brother, and I would like to know how many plagues there were for the Pesach story. So if you have the right answer, you can write it in the chat, or you can tell us at Kiddush. So Aaron's brother's name and how many plagues there were. Just a reminder for us this weekend, Shabbat service, of course, tomorrow. Sunday morning, Cafe Ivriya hosts a really special morning on food poverty. Usual time, 10 o'clock. Peggy and Alison and Margot have put together a really important morning for us to talk with the founder of Food Bank Aid, one of the charities that we support as the congregation, Finchley Food Bank, that we have supported for a while now, and really the opportunity to talk about why this is such a critical time for us to support. It really reminds us, anticipates, let all who are hungry come and eat, that we'll offer at the Seder on Saturday and Sunday evenings. Next Wednesday evening is an event called A Fuller Table, where we get to hear about other traditions, not just Ashkenazi white Jewish traditions for Passover, but Sephardi and Mizrahi traditions. I really hope you'll come. Part of our attempt as a congregation to broaden our understanding of Jewish tradition and who is a Jew. Thursday night, 7:30, Beit Midrash hosts a meeting to discuss the importance, the critical nature of liberal congregations having deputies at the Board of Deputies. And what that means, we will definitely be having elections this year. We have several people, new folk who are standing, so we're in a strong position. But we're going to hear from Karen Newman, who is Vice Chair of Liberal Judaism and works very closely with the Board of Deputies, why it's so critical for us to claim our place. All the Pesach, Passover, Seder activities, you have had emails for, it's on Facebook, but it's not too late, obviously, because no one's catering for you except yourselves, catering for yourselves, for Seder, the communal Seder, Sunday night at 6 o'clock. I think that's enough for you. Otherwise, I'm giving you too many things. Let us finish with a blessing for each other. Children, looking forward to hearing your answers.
Yesimcha Elohim Ephraim v'ki Menashe Yesimem יישא אדוני פניו אליך וישם לך שלום. יברכך אדוני וישמרך, יאר אדוני פניו אליך ויחונך, יישא אדוני פניו אליך וישם לך שלום. וישם לך שלום.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. So help yourself to your wine, your Bacardi and Coke. Campari yet? Braham, is it spring, summer enough for a Campari? Whatever you are making kiddush over, Christine in California, it's probably still a cup of coffee. So whatever you are using. AC, I can't see what yours is. Very nice, very nice. So Dean has wine and I have some challah rolls over here. That looks like a cocktail, Marion, that you're making kiddush over. Very nice.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu, v'shabbat kodsho v'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu, zikaron l'maaseh v'reshit, ki hu yom tehila l'mikra'e kodesh, zecher letziat Mitzrayim. Kivanu v'chata ve'otanu kidashta mikol ha'amim v'shabbat kodshecha be'ahava uvratzon hinchaltanu. Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh ha'shabbat. Amen. L'chaim.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Feel free to unmute.